These scenes have become all too familiar in 2022. Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine feeds the internet an endless supply of horrific images, social media accentuating the antisocial. The war started on February 24th. In April 2022, I was nearing the end of my junior year of high school in Northern Virginia. I had a trip planned for spring break to visit my grandmother in Hungary. I did drop in to see my grandmother Eva and Uncle Zsolt, but my vacation to visit Kaposvár instead turned into a reporting trip to get some kind of understanding as to what was happening in Eastern Europe. Man's inhumanity to man had impacted both sides of my family during dark chapters of the 20th century. My father's grandparents had survived the Armenian genocide of 1915, where 1.5 million men, women, and children were killed by the Ottoman Turks of a crumbling empire. My mother's grandfather spent 4 years in a Russian forced labor camp in Siberia in the 1940s. Now, in the 21st century, the unimaginable was happening in Europe again. Refugees by the hundreds of thousands, by the millions, seeking safety in Central and Western Europe. I wanted to see it firsthand. My father and I rented a car in Budapest and drove 2 hours south to my mother's hometown, a place I have visited more than 15 times. The pandemic meant this was the first visit to Kaposvár in 2 years. It's always a welcoming atmosphere to visit my grandmother, who was widowed 4 years ago. With about 65,000 residents, Kaposvár is the 13th largest city in Hungary. Being there always brings back memories of month-long summer vacations. But this visit was only hours long. It was then on to Tiszabech, a more than 5-hour drive east to the small border town that was welcoming Ukrainian refugees. The sun began rising over the northern Great Plain region as we neared Tiszabech, a village of some 1,300 people.
Turn left.
Locals and outside groups were there to help over the past couple of months.
Baptist Aid in Hungary has been running the center since refugees began pouring over the border. Once numbering in the thousands, the flow slowed by mid-April with shifts in the war.
Although the flow had slowed, there were still Ukrainians in need there. This location is a way station where refugees could stop and rest as they prepared to be relocated deeper into Europe. The organizers of the aid station said they would remain open as long as the war continued. We next headed to another Hungarian aid center, this one in Záhony, a village of some 5,000 people.
The remote nature of Hungarian border towns is exemplified by this stretch of unpaved road. From Tiszabech to another aid center for Ukrainian refugees in Záhony is about a 90-minute drive.
This school in Záhony was well equipped to handle a good number of refugees, which it had done during the peak of activity. Most of the refugees coming through were women and children.
Since the refugee crisis began, countless babies have been cared for in this room by the Hungarian Red Cross of Záhony.
While in Záhony, we ran into this couple from the UK. They work for a public transportation company called the Big Lemon. Their big yellow bus, which runs on alternative fuel like all the company's vehicles, was overflowing with donated supplies.
We just arrived a couple of hours ago. We've been bringing stuff down from Brighton and Hove in the south of England. We're not an aid charity or anything like that. We run bus services and coach services in and around Brighton and Hove and across the UK. We just wanted to help. And we've driven through France, Germany, Austria and Hungary. Arrived here today and we've been giving things that we've brought with us. Just in 2 days we collected a whole bus full of stuff. Tea, coffee, snacks. They go through a lot here. Lots of food, toiletries and slippers in high demand as well.
We might go to Poland as well because the biggest demand is there because most of refugees have fled to Poland. and I speak Polish, I speak Russian, so I'm here to help Tom with communication. We can't speak Hungarian, it's too difficult.
Continue 3.1 kilometers.
After a full day in Hungary, we headed to Slovakia, trying to find a motel by nightfall.
Turn left. Highway 567. Continue 10 kilometers.
The AIDS Center in Slovakia, in the border town of Vyšné Nemecké, population 250, is where you'll find the main road between Ukraine and Slovakia. We were there for 4 hours and saw a bustling aid effort as the flow of refugees remained constant.
This potato, this butter.
Marko is a 68-year-old man from Mariupol. His hometown was heavily damaged and occupied. He'll probably never go back. He had a sense of loss and confusion about him. In his hopelessness and anger, he told me he wished Vladimir Putin and the Russian people themselves could feel the pain he was feeling. We also met Alexandra, who was also from eastern Ukraine. She left her hometown and her husband behind and was headed to Germany.
I don't know what will I do, but I don't want to go in Ukraine. I don't want, because I don't know if the war will or not. Because in 2014 we also have war, and after 8 years also war, and it's very scary.
Then there was Lisa, a recent college graduate who had a thriving business giving private English lessons. Her skills landed her a position here with an aid organization. She thinks she may never return to her business or her hometown of Zaporizhia ever again. That sense of resignation did not hinder her from speaking her mind about the invasion or the need to fight to the end.
People from both sides are dying, but we didn't start this war. So I do hope that it will be finished soon, but unfortunately, maybe it's some destiny of Ukraine to protect its territory from this neighbor. I really do believe that Ukrainian army, Ukrainian volunteers, and Ukrainian people will stand for their country, because we don't want to be a part of Russia. We are not brothers, we are not sisters, we are two separate nations, we are two separate countries. On the 24th of February, my mother and I woke up because of bombing, and it was absolutely terrible. And I wish I didn't experience that, but we hope for best. So that's why it's a little bit hard to say what's gonna happen in the future, but we'll see.
In 400 meters, continue straight.
The beauty of the countryside between Slovakia and Poland belies the tragedy that is unfolding in Eastern Europe. Thousands of soldiers and civilians killed in war, infrastructure destroyed, millions of refugees headed west, not knowing if or when they will return, their lives turned upside down.
Вещи, документы храните при себе.
For over 6 weeks, tens of thousands of refugees have found safe passage through the border at Medica. The effort to comfort those escaping the war has been a truly international one.
Actually, we provide first aid, and we also provide some food, medicine, and baby stuff. What we do here, we are helping all the people for the first aid and some food and some medicine for them. And also we evacuate a lot of Egyptian people that were students or living in Ukraine, because we are in contact also with the Egyptian embassy here in Poland.
Jorge is from an aid organization from Spain called Deporte por el Futuro.
We came with 2 trucks to give to Ukrainians with all these sorts of stuff, like mainly food and also medic stuff for healthcare and all that. And also stuff for the children, like chocolates, candy, and all that, just to, have a little fun.
Jacob Polnitsky is from Israel. He's with an international French organization, SSF, that in English is called Rescuers Without Borders.
We've made a humanitarian tent and also a medical tent. So our job here consists of 3 main ways that we go. We have our logistical tent, which we get supplies donated from all around the world and we ship them into Ukraine. So there's been already 40 tons of medical supplies that we've shipped inside Ukraine, inside hospitals, and we have contacts with them. They tell us what they need, and we get that to them. And we've also taken care of refugees that have gone across the border and that they need medical attention. We have a doctor on staff 24 hours a day. And we've already treated 4,000 patients that have gone through here. And we also have a humanitarian tent. So the humanitarian tent is only for women and children, and refugees come across the border, and they're very, very tired, and sometimes it's the middle of the night. So we put them inside the tent, and we give them a place to sleep, some rest, and also some guidance about what the future holds for them, and also moral support. So we have social workers working there that are helping them out to kind of ease the tension.
We were just a 3.5-hour drive to the town in Poland where we could visit Auschwitz-Birkenau, a place to get a real sense of the most horrific crime in Europe, committed only 80 years ago. Our hotel, we learned, was providing free rooms to Ukrainian refugees as they headed west. We discreetly took a couple of pictures of them at breakfast, where we felt a quiet sense of deep sadness and loss. I was sad too, having spent time at a monument to the horrors of history, while seeing those going through present-day, large-scale suffering.
The Holocaust is unparalleled in world history in its breadth and cruelty. 6 million people murdered in cold, calculated, efficient, government-run genocide.
We returned to the Israeli aid worker in Medica to put it all into perspective.
The question about comparing this issue to the Holocaust, I think it has nothing to do with one another. So the world is very, very open to the crisis and is trying to help. There are people from all over the world here, so the world has not turned a blind eye on the crisis and on the refugees, as opposed to when the Holocaust has happened, when the world had turned a blind eye. Another thing is that the Russians are doing some horrendous stuff, but they're not turning this into something that to kill as many people and to target as many people as they can, as what happened in the Holocaust. So what's happening currently is that it's war, and war is very, very sad, and we're not here on a political agenda. We're just here to help people.
After a week in this part of the world during this sorrowful time, I am only left with questions. How long will this go on? Was this war inevitable? Was there no way to prevent Putin from invading? What will happen to the survivors? Will they ever return home? If so, how long will it take to rebuild their lives, their structures, their souls? What will become of the children's hopes and dreams? Is this the sort of indignity and pain my ancestors had suffered? Some moved on from genocide and labor camps. Some only seemed to have moved on from those things while harboring lifelong trauma. while others never had a chance. What does the future hold for these people? And will the world ever learn?